Hi there, my name is Caitlin Vandy and this is my channel Vandy's Books, and today we are here to talk about Book of the Month predictions. And it's kind of exciting because we're going to be doing our first prediction video for the year 2024. That's right, January 2024 predictions. I can't believe that 2023 is already over. I don't even know where the time went. So before we jump into this video, excuse my voice if I'm sounding a little bit hoarse or a little bit croaky. I have been sick all week. I'm still actually fairly sick, but I really love this video and I love getting it out. So I just wanted to make sure I got it shot. So bear with me with my not optimal voice. I have a lot of great selections, so let's go ahead and jump straight into them. First up, we're going to talk about the historical fiction category and have 3 selections. The first one we're going to be talking about is The Wild and Distant Seas by Tara Karr Roberts. This currently has a 3.93 and 41 ratings on Goodreads so far. Evangeline's husband has died at sea, and she's only just managed to hold on to his Nantucket Inn by using a gift to reform the memories of those around her. When an idealistic soldier named Ishmael shows up on her doorstep, her careful illusion starts to fracture. He soon sails away with Ahab to hunt an infamous white whale, and she is left to forge a life from the pieces that remain. So I've selected this book for Book of the Month because it's a debut novel, it's a retelling, it's receiving pretty good feedback so far, and I feel like aesthetically the cover of this book fits what Book of the Month likes to do. I'm very interested in reading this one, and I would love to see it show up in the Book of the Month box. My second selection is Unsinkable by Jenni Walsh. This currently has a 4.09 and 70 ratings on Goodreads so far. Violet, a stewardess and a wartime nurse, has survived 1 shipwreck and 2 sinkings. One of those sinkings, the infamous Titanic. No one could understand why she'd return to sea, but with an ill mother and 8 younger siblings, she does what she has to. Daphne, an unwanted child after the passing of her mother, has thrown herself into her education and learning foreign languages. Then the special operations executives invite her to become a special agent in France during World War II. I've selected this book for Book of the Month because I think that it features 2 badass women doing badass things, which I always love, and I think that's a great feature. While this is World War II historical fiction, which does tend to be featured a lot, it features parts of World War II that are not necessarily the most known. In particular, the part about being on ships and at sea and being sunk sounds really interesting and is not an aspect that I've seen a ton of coverage on. And the third selection is The Mayor of Maxwell Street by Avery Cunningham. This currently has a 4.14 and 65 ratings on Goodreads so far. 1921 Chicago. Nellie Sawyer is the daughter of the alleged wealthiest black man in America. After her brother, the presumed family heir, dies tragically, she becomes a premier debutante overnight. But she has goals outside of wealth and marriage. For the past year, Nellie's been working undercover as an investigative journalist for the Chicago Defender. Charming and mysterious Jay Shorey is trying to balance his connection to the Chicago underworld with his desperate desire for the protection of high society. When Nellie and Jay's paths cross, she convinces him to help her expose the mayor and bring a lasting change to a corrupted city. I selected this book for Book of the Month because it's a debut novel and because it's a time period that, while it does receive some attention, I feel like this aspect of that time period is not covered frequently. I also really like that we have a strong female character who isn't interested in just being a wealthy socialite. She wants to be an investigative journalist and she wants to make an impact on the society around her. Next up, we're going to go into our thrillers, horror, and mystery genre. First up, we have Only If You're Lucky by Stacy Willingham. This currently has a 3.96 and 866 reviews on Goodreads so far. Lucy Sharp is larger than life, and shy Margot is immediately taken with her. Soon, Margot finds herself rooming with Lucy and 2 other girls. Margot is finally coming out of her shell when one of the fraternity boys in the house next door is murdered, and Lucy Sharp goes missing without a trace. I selected this book because Stacy Willingham has been previously featured by Book of the Month. Her books, All the Dangerous Things and A Flicker in the Dark, were both Book of the Month main picks. Both of them received pretty good feedback from the thriller readers, and I could see this one being equally as popular. Then we have The Fury by Alex Michaelides. This currently has a 3.83 and 822 ratings on Goodreads so far. Lana Farrar is a reclusive ex-Hollywood star and one of the most famous women in the world. Every year, she invites her closest friends to her idyllic private Greek island. But this year, when the group gets trapped on the island overnight, one of them ends up murdered. I've selected this book because Alex Michaelides has been previously featured by Book of the Month. He's well known for his book The Silent Patient and his book The Maidens, both which received pretty good feedback. Additionally, the publisher is really promoting this book heavily. I've been seeing ARCs of this book everywhere. I've actually personally received an ARC, but I've been seeing it all over bookish social media. And usually I feel like when publishers are putting that much effort into promoting books, I think that I often notice Book of the Month will feature those books as well. Then we have The Heiress by Rachel Hawkins. This currently has a 4.18 and about 2,618 reviews on Goodreads so far. When Ruby McTavish, North Carolina's richest and most infamous woman, a famous kidnapping victim and a widow 4 times over, dies, she leaves her fortune and her estate to her adopted son, Camden. He wants nothing to do with it, and he moves to Colorado to live some semblance of a normal life. But 10 years later, he's summoned back to North Carolina after his uncle's death, and he finds that his wife, Jules, wants him to go ahead and claim his inheritance. I've selected this book because Rachel Hawkins has been previously featured by Book of the Month, and her features have been very successful. She's a relatively popular author, and I think that this book is receiving a quiet but good amount of buzz. I could easily see this being a feature. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this particular genre, I could have selected about 7 books for this genre this month. There are so many good thrillers and mysteries releasing that it's anyone's game what's going to be picked. These are the 4 that I think are most likely just because they're all repeat authors. But one person that was on this list that was also a repeat author that I didn't pick but is maybe a sleeper pick would be Midnight by Amy McCulloch. I'm not going to give you the details of the book because it's not one of my selections, but McCulloch was previously featured for her book Breathless, and so I could see her maybe being a sleeper pick for this category. Now we're going to jump into the romance genre. First up, we have Don't Want You Like a Best Friend by Emma R. Alban. This currently has a 4.14 and 159 ratings on Goodreads so far. 1857, Beth and Gwen are both debutantes who find little interest in finding a husband. Instead, they're focused on matchmaking their respective widowed parents with each other. The only problem is their parents' mutual hatred for each other. When a wealthy viscount begins offering marriage to Beth, Gwen must face sharing Beth with someone forever, and Beth must reckon with the fact that her feelings are not for her potential fiance. So I selected this book because it's a debut novel and because I would love to see Book of the Month feature more LGBTQIA romances. I think this is a particularly popular genre, and I think that this book would do really well. I also think it seems really cute. I love that this has Parent Trap vibes, but it's set in that Victorian era. I think all of these things are things that would go over well with the Book of the Month audience. Then we have Say You'll Be Mine by Naina Kumar. This currently has a 4.23 and 191 ratings on Goodreads so far. Meghna Rahman's parents wanted her to be an engineer, but she followed her dreams and became a theater teacher and an aspiring playwright. When her beloved writing partner, best friend, and secret crush, Seth, gets engaged and then asks her to be his best man, she finally agrees to let her parents introduce her to a match. Grumpy, handsome engineer Karthik Murthy only agrees to his mother's matchmaking attempts to make her happy. He never dreamed of meeting someone as vibrant as Meghna. He can't offer her a real marriage, but a fake engagement could help them both. So I've selected this book for Book of the Month because it's a debut novel. It's getting a lot of really good feedback. Aesthetically, it fits with what Book of the Month likes to feature, and it's got a trope that's very popular in the romance genre, and that's the fake engagement, fake dating trope. I could easily see this being a really popular Book of the Month pick. Now we're going to jump into our contemporary and literary fiction genres. We have 3 selections for the genre this month. First up, we have Come and Get It by Kiley Reid. This currently has a 3.51 and 471 ratings on Goodreads so far. 2017, University of Arkansas. Millie Cousins, a senior resident assistant, wants to graduate, get a job, and buy a house. When Agatha Paul, a visiting professor, offers Millie an easy yet unusual opportunity, she takes it, but her hustle becomes jeopardized by odd new friends, vengeful dorm pranks, and illicit intrigue. So I've selected this book because Kiley Reid would be a repeat author. She was previously featured for Such a Fun Age, which received really good feedback. I know that this book is not receiving great feedback so far, but I have found that sometimes books that are really polarizing have this kind of 3.5 to 3.8 rating, where there's a lot of people that really, really love it and rate it really high, and then a lot of people that don't get it and rate it really, really low. And when I was looking at the reviews on the book, it seemed like that was the case, where there was a lot of people who were really raving and then a lot of people who were just like, not for me. So polarizing doesn't always mean bad. And I could see this being like a surprise pick for Book of the Month. Then we have Mrs. Quinn's Rise to Fame by Olivia Ford. This currently has a 4.47 and 85 ratings on Goodreads so far. After 59 years of marriage, as her husband's health declines and all of her friends are focused on their grandchildren, Jenni decides to apply to be a contestant on primetime TV's show Britain Bakes. As she delights in her newfound independence, a long-concealed secret threatens to shatter the foundations of her marriage. So I've selected this book because I feel like there is a lot to love here. I love that this character is older. We're not focused on somebody who's in their 20s or 30s. We're looking at somebody that's closer to the end of their life. I love that it's going to reflect on a long marriage and how honest we are with spouses. I love that it includes a show that is clearly modeled after the Great British Bake Off, which is just a joy to watch. Not gonna lie, I also love that this includes a lot of food elements. I am a chef, and so for me, any book that incorporates food in a fantastic way makes me very happy. I think there could also be some profound messaging in this book. Jenni is later on in life, and a lie from a long time ago has come back to haunt her. I think this is going to cause her to reflect on why she hid this thing in the first place and maybe making amends with the people that she's hurt. I think that, you know, while this seems like there's going to be some light, fluffy elements, I think that there's going to be a deeper theme underneath it. And my third fiction selection is going to be Mercury by Amy Jo Burns. This currently has a 4.30 and 213 ratings on Goodreads so far. 1990, Mercury, Pennsylvania. 17-year-old Marley West comes into town looking for a family to call her own. The Joseph family takes her in, and she eventually marries one of their 3 sons. Years later, an eerie discovery in the attic of the church causes old wounds to resurface. So I've selected this book for Book of the Month because this book is receiving all of the hype. Just like The Fury by Alex Michaelides, the publisher is pushing this book hard. I've been seeing it pop up all over social media. I know that they've sent out a lot of ARC copies, and like I mentioned, when the publishers are pushing books this hard, I've noticed that Book of the Month has a tendency to pick up those books. So it wouldn't surprise me to see this, but not only is it being hyped by the publishers, it's being hyped by the people reviewing it. It's getting a lot of really good critical feedback. I mean, it's got a 4.30 rating on Goodreads, which says that people are really liking it. And I like books that deal with that kind of like generational situation. I like that there's like maybe a little bit of a mystery element mixed in here. I think this could be a really good read. Next up, we have the fantasy/sci-fi category. I have 2 selections for this genre this month. First up, we have The Djiinn Waits 100 Years by Shubnum. This currently has a 4.20 and 95 ratings on Goodreads so far. Akbar Manzil was once a grand estate off the coast of South Africa. Now it stands in ruin, an isolated boarding house for misfits. Until Sana. She and her father are seeking a new home after suffering a painful loss. Sana finds herself drawn to the East Wing, a home for broken and abandoned objects. There she finds a bedroom frozen in time and a heartbroken Djiinn. So I've selected this book for Book of the Month because I've been seeing this book all over the place lately. It's been receiving pretty good feedback so far. It has a fantasy element, but it also has a bit of romance incorporated into it, which is very popular right now. And I love that it incorporates Middle Eastern folklore into the fantasy story. It also sounds like it could be a very powerful and emotional read. I think this would be a great feature by Book of the Month. My second fantasy selection is The Longest Autumn by Amy Avery. This currently has a 3.89 and 85 reviews on Goodreads so far. Djiinn is one of 4 humans selected to usher the seasons into the mortal world. Every year, she escorts the taciturn god Autumn between realms. This year, the mirror that separates the 2 worlds shatters, leaving Djiinn and Autumn trapped in the mortal realm. As the priesthood scrambles to reassemble the mirror, the endless autumn stretches on, causing the crops to fail and threatening starvation. Worse, Autumn's extended stay in the mortal realm is making him vulnerable and more human, and is stirring a forbidden attraction to Djiinn. I've selected this book for Book of the Month because it's a debut novel and because it incorporates mythological elements, which have been really popular for Book of the Month lately. I also feel like this is a pretty unique story, and it's been receiving decent feedback so far. I've been seeing this book popping up a lot lately, so I could definitely see this one being picked up. And finally, our last genre, which is nonfiction, and I have 1 selection this month. That is One in a Millennial by Kate Kennedy. This currently has a 4.05 and 200 ratings on Goodreads so far. Kate is a pop culture commentator and host of the popular millennial-focused podcast, Be There in 5. Part funny and part serious, Kate navigates the complicated nature of celebrating and criticizing the culture that shaped her as a woman, while arguing that great depths can come from surface level interests. So I've selected this book because of millennial nostalgia. I feel like in general, like hardcover books are kind of a nostalgic thing. I think that as society progresses towards technology, younger generations are going to be more in tune with like e-readers and things like that. And I feel like those of us that really love, to have physical copies of books, that's just becoming a more and more nostalgic thing. So I feel like picking a book that features millennial nostalgia really fits with the Book of the Month audience. and I could see it being a really popular pick. And that's not to say that the entirety of the Book of the Month audience is solely millennials. There are obviously lots of people of lots of different age brackets. I just think that there are enough millennials that picking a millennial nostalgia book would do really well. So those are all my picks for January 2024. Honestly, I could have probably picked another 10 to 15 books because there are so many books releasing in January. The good news is that I picked 16 books for Book of the Month, and that left me a ton of books to pick for my Aardvark video. So if you want to hear about more books and what I'm predicting for Aardvark, look for that in a couple of days. So that being said, if you liked the video, hit the thumbs up, comment down below and let me know what you think of my picks this month. Anything that you think I picked that was like way off, or anything that I didn't pick that you're just surprised not to see on this list at all. What do you think Book of the Month is going to pick? And if you're not already subscribed to this channel, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button down below, as well as the notification bell so that you never miss a video. And that way we can see each other again soon. Thanks so much for joining. Bye.